Hi, this is Jenny Langley, author of the new Maudsley training manual. In this video, I'm giving you some more examples about using the nutritional risk ruler. So several different scenarios. So let's start with the first scenario. Really common issue for people recovering from eating disorders is that they want to get back to their normal activity levels, and that can be really scary, can't it? So this is the example with my son Sam when he was being discharged from his inpatient unit and he wanted to start playing football straight away. So this ruler can be used with actually quite young children. So I was having a conversation with him. So he'd been discharged 2 weeks ago and he wanted to go on a whole week course with his mates in 2 weeks' time. So it seems like a quite high risk situation. So I'm just being curious. So Sam, I know you want to go on the football course next week. I want you to go too. Let's think about your energy requirements so that we can make sure you're feeding your body in a really appropriate way. So Sam might say, I know I have to eat more mum, quite a lot more, and that's going to be okay. So he's kind of trying to brush me away. So I can keep going with that, and then I could use the ruler. So let me just be a bit more curious, Sam. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how confident are you that you know how much to eat to give you the right amount of energy for the football course? Maybe he says 7 or 8. I know you'll be there as well, Mum, so you'll be keeping an eye on me. So we had got that trust kind of in our relationship by that stage. And I can say, yes, of course I'll be there. And then just hand it back to him. So what might increase your own confidence? You know, you don't want me standing over you. It's so important, isn't it, in the later stages of recovery that we're taking a step back, even when our loved one is only 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So Sam says, yeah, that's true. I don't want you standing over me like that. Maybe we could make a plan together. So you don't need to be there so much. And then I can say, yeah, that's fantastic. So we can together, we can think about how much Sam might need to eat. So he's learnt about hypermetabolism. He knows that he's having to eat more than his friends. So at that stage, he was eating maybe 3,500, 4,000 calories. By doing the football course, maybe he has to up it by 500, even 1,000 calories a day. And he kind of was okay with that. So he could come up with his own suggestions, but I would be there to nudge him. So maybe he says, I'll have an extra piece of toast at breakfast. I'll take 2 baguettes for lunch rather than 1. I'll have snacks with me. Maybe I can have an extra piece of fruit at dinner. And we can just come up with an agreement as to what's going to be palatable and acceptable for him, notwithstanding the challenge that he's got to eat all of this food in front of his friends who maybe won't be eating quite so much. And then I can say, I'm so happy, Sam, to see you getting your life back. And of course, I'm going to be there in the background. And what happened was he did go to the football course and he did eat all the food and he really, really enjoyed the football course. And I was so proud of him. And I was so surprised actually that he managed to eat so much, even in front of his mates. Reflecting back, I would say I was really, really surprised. I didn't think he'd be able to manage it without me being there, like the kangaroo protective mum, and he did. And then many years later, he also reflects, Mum, he was talking about when he was ill, Mum, isn't the human body incredible? Before I went to hospital, I couldn't even bear to swallow my saliva. And then within 6 months, I was physically back on my feet and emotionally resilient enough to be able to eat huge amounts so that I could play football. Rex, which is what we called his eating disorder, Rex was still there in my head and in the background, and I'd learnt that I could stand up to him. So that's our story really in terms of how we might have used the nutritional risk ruler. So let's have a look at another example. So this again is very common, isn't it? That meals, so it might be that you're seeing exercise increasing, or it might be that food is starting to reduce. And obviously going back to my son's example, he wasn't going to be eating 4,500 calories a day forever because eventually his hypermetabolism would start to slow down. But he learned to eat intuitively and follow his appetite. And because he's so active, he's always going to have to eat more than maybe similar age people around him. So in this second scenario, we've got Eliza, who's 15. She loves going to the stables. And Peter and Louise, and they're very proud she's come so far, but they suspect that she's not always eating her lunch at the stables. So before she goes, she does have a breakfast, but it's quite small. Then obviously it's quite physically demanding at the stables all day. And then she comes home. She likes to cook the family meal and she eats a good meal in the evening, but Peter and Louise are really concerned about that her weight is starting to slip. So again, this is an example that we did in a workshop a few years ago. So Dad might have the conversation this time. So Eliza, on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate your current ability to manage your nutritional well-being? Eliza, 10. Dad, I feel fine. I'm cooking family meals. I'm eating them with you, going to the stable. It's good. Peter can then kind of agree with that, but agree to disagree. I'm glad you feel everything's going so well. We've seen such great progress. So lots of affirmations. You're a great cook. We love that you cook for us and you eat with us. I'm curious though about your score of 10. Would you mind if I just explain what I've been observing just recently? And then Eliza might be very defensive. So here we go. Dad, my best is just never good enough. You don't trust me and you never will. So I remember my son saying this to me on occasions as well. Go on then, hit me with your doom and gloom scenario. You don't seem to have learnt much on that course of yours. I thought you were supposed to be more positive and less just judgmental. I've been Googling about the new Maudsley method and I think you both need a lot more practice. So kind of tongue-in-cheek and a bit sense of humour. But she's making a point, back off, Dad. So Peter, keeping calm. Thank you for telling me how you're feeling. That's a lovely affirmation. I'm so glad you're taking an interest in the different approaches. So she's Googled the new Maudsley approach. And then getting back to the ruler. So getting back to the elephant in the room. So this is what we've been noticing. So the good things are you prepare your own breakfast, you're cooking dinner, you're making a packed lunch. The not so good things, what we're concerned about is that we don't feel that you're consuming enough to feed your body given all the hard work you're doing at the stables. And then noticing you seem tired and pale, it looks like you're losing weight. We want to help you to eat the right amount, Eliza. It is trial and error. For everyone, it's trial and error, isn't it? And so much depends on how much energy you're using up. It's not just the amount of food you're eating. We cannot stand over you 24/7, and neither should we. So again, a really important message. It's time for us to take a step back. It's up to you, darling. You know what you need to do. So again, handing back that autonomy. Eliza continues to fight back. I am eating my lunch. Ask the owner of the stables. She encourages to eat my lunch. It's just not fair. And this often happens is that maybe she is eating her lunch, but her energy output, so her energy in and energy out is still in deficit. So then at the end of the day, to be working so hard in the stables, she needs to eat more, okay? So Eliza is not lying. She's telling her truth. But the fact is that it's just not enough in nutrition for Eliza at the moment. So Peter, we really do want to trust you, Eliza. We find it hard to trust the eating disorder. We want to help you, Eliza, so saying her name, not your illness. We know you can do it. So the absolute belief that you've got the capability to do it. We're here to help and support you. You've achieved so much already. You know that if you do lose more weight, we will take you back to the GP and they will step in and advise you. But then really kind of giving the message to Eliza, it's up to you, darling. You know what you need to do if your weight is dropping. It's going to be a combination of more food and or less exercise. We want you to have the right energy levels to enjoy your time at the stables. And we're here to help you if you're struggling to get that balance right. Okay, so really, really powerful ways to have conversations around this. So Peter's showered his daughter with lots of affirmations. He's listened carefully to her responses. He's reflected back. He's externalized the illness. We trust you. We can't always trust the eating disorder voice. And he's acknowledged the challenge of getting that nutritional balance right. So he's being firm with the illness whilst being empathic and compassionate with his daughter. He's given her the unconditional support, whatever happens, whatever avalanche is thrown at him. Even though Eliza's been pretty defensive throughout, Peter's managing to keep calm. And so he's keeping that connection with her. And then even if Eliza goes off in a huff, this has been a really, really useful conversation for them to have. And you know that the seed has been sown, that she can carry on, working out the balance between how much she needs to eat to make sure that she's feeding her body for being at her beloved stables. And then we've got this lovely quote again, haven't we, that people with eating disorders will often say after they've got better, I heard every word, I just couldn't respond in that moment at the time. So it's a really, really useful tool. And I hope that you find that you can use it in a similar way. Thank you.